Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is an Eternal Evolution video. Guys, I want to go through 6 of the best elite heroes you can build in Eternal Evolution, how I've got mine built, and basically what they're going to be used for in the game. Cool thing about Eternal Evolution is you can actually start to evolve up some of your elite heroes pretty damn quick. Yeah, there's a lot of resources coming at you. There's a lot of promo codes which are available. In fact, I've got a couple to throw in for this video. Hopefully they're still existing when you guys are watching it. But there's a lot of good heroes that you can kind of build out to at least cruise through the early game whilst you're starting to pick up your Triple S champions, which again are fairly accessible in the game. If this is the first video you're watching and you want to download and try it, you can use my link down below. You will get yourself a free Artas, who is an elite hero, kind of like a Vanguard frontliner, who will get you through a lot of that early stage until you start to develop some of the bigger elites and SSS heroes. You'll also get some gold, some diamonds, and some summons as well. And I'll link down below a page on hellhades.com, a whole bunch of promo codes to get you going. So if you want to be kept up to date with the promo codes as they drop, you can come to my Discord. You can go into the Eternal Evolution section in the welcome room, click the little emoji. It will open up Eternal Evolution for you. In the news area here, we keep all of the promo codes up to date. So there's one here which is Lunar New Year. There's another one here which is Dumplings. I've already done them both, but you get yourself some summons, diamonds, and talent stuff. Like, it's actually 2 really good codes. And if you've not put one in before, come into your kind of profile, into settings, gift code, and then you add them in here. Right, let's talk about then my top 6. I was going to be a top 5, but I was like, I couldn't leave the 6th one out. I'm going to start with what I think is the best elite hero in the game. And that is going to be Serena. Now, Serena is actually available, I think, when you first start the game. There's like an event which you run where you can get multiple copies of Serena. Obviously, the more copies you get of a hero, the stronger they're going to get. So every time you evolve them to the next stage, you gain a lot of base stats. You gain the ability to unlock more talents. And all of these things basically increase their strength. You also gain the ability to unlock their exclusive skills. And I would say of all of the elite heroes, maybe with the exception of Taylor, Serena benefits the most from unlocking her elite skill up to stage 20. Okay, it just massively enhances her healing ability. And honestly, she pretty much becomes a bit of a tank. She can literally frontline tank content for you. So I use my Serena in a ton of content still, even though I've got a pretty high level Mazrani Triple S champion. Yeah, so I'm using my Serena in Decent Caves as a frontline tank. I use her in Sinsaro Marsh as a frontline tank. Yeah, she's tanking up a lot of the damage because she heals through it, which is kind of nuts. I use her just as a straight healer in Tara Dome as well. In the Ancient Altar, she's in one of the stages for me as a healer, the final stage. And generally, she's in most of my teams. Yeah, if I'm going for story mode challenge, I tend to have 2 healers for the kind of later game stuff. In this one, I've got Mazrani and Serena. So yeah, she is in most of my teams. She absolutely carries herself into the end game and is very, very worthwhile investing in. So in terms of how I did mine out, there's probably 2 ways you could really. If you're earlier on, you can just go straight for the Vigorous set and try and get Vigorous sets on her. Ultimately, you're trying to punch as much HP as you can because all of her healing is based from HP. Yeah, so if you look at her ult here, basically each second the Angel casts Divine Light to heal the friendly unit with the lowest HP on the battlefield. For 3 seconds of the chance, Serena becomes immune to CC. I think that's one of the reasons why she's so good on the front line or near the front line, because she can't actually be CC'd while she's doing this. Each instance of Divine Light heals Serena as well as a target, and it's based on max HP. And obviously, as you scale it up, it gets better and better. On her other skills here as well, all of them basically react to her or the target's max HP. So bringing her HP up high is basically the way that you're going to scale her abilities even better. Now, I've played around with sets, and I actually don't feel like there's as big a difference as I thought there would be between going 6-piece vigorous set here, which is just increasing your HP, and going abundant for the extra healing. So you get 35% more healing with abundant stuff on. What I would say is, if you can get the stats in abundant, then I would go abundant set with 2-piece vigorous. But if you can't get the stats in abundant, I would go 6-piece vigorous set. And when you're looking for substats, really, I was just focused on extra HP, focused on things like damage reduction, because she does do some front line for me, and as much health as I can get. If you look at my kind of overall build, I've got mine up to basically, what's that, 1.4 mil, 1.5 mil roughly of HP. And then I've tried to get some damage reduction into her build as well. But yeah, Serena scales right through the game. Second one on the list is going to be Taylor. Taylor was my damage carry for a long, long time, up until probably a week ago. And I played the game for about 10 weeks. And that was when Emma, the SSS hero here, basically overtook. Yeah, she overtook, and she's now massively outscaling my Taylor's damage. But until I could evolve my Emma, much harder to evolve an SSS hero, until I could evolve Emma up, Taylor was just hitting out single target damage. Cool thing about Taylor is you can basically use him anywhere, and when you're manualing with him, you can jump him around to wherever you want. He's actually very cool. In terms of my Taylor, I did take him up to level 20 exclusive. I think you get a lot of benefit from that because of the damage amp and the extra attack that you get. And in terms of the way I've geared him, I've actually changed my gear recently, and I probably need to change it again. I put some of my better stuff on my Emma, so it's actually lowered my stats a bit. What I would really be looking for is 60% crit rate and minimum like 60% crit damage, and then pump attack as high as you can. So at the moment, I'm a bit low on the crit rate from where I'd like to be, but he does attack a lot. So high crit rate's not essential, I would say, in Eternal Evolution like it might be in other games. But yeah, basically I'm using combination of crit damage, crit rate, and attack sets. I'm looking for attack percent basically everywhere, but crit rate or crit damage on the gloves to get yourself to the kind of overall stats that you need. And if we look at his kind of kit, basically he's just a damage machine, like a single target damage machine. And yeah, you just want him in your back line pumping damage. You really want your front line to be protecting him staying alive whilst he just pumps out serious amounts of damage. So my Taylor, even I'd say until recently, he was in most of my endgame teams. But my DCKs, he's in my level 15. I actually have him in the front right here. I guess I'll show you a run quick. If you put him in front right, you don't need a tank for Disa Caves. Serena kind of does enough tanking once she's got that EX20 leveled up, and she can kind of heal the team. But what Taylor does well as a front line is he actually takes out the healing bot when it spawns. So he will target the healing bot full auto if you put him front right. If you have him like back left or something, then he won't target the bot. You see that? Gone straight onto that bot. The bot's going to be down, and yeah, it's going to be a quick clear. So you can see Taylor here actually gets swamped for damage compared to some of my other guys now. He used to be top of the damage chart by a mile until I got some of these other heroes to higher levels. So up until, as I say, a few weeks ago, he was my #1. Now I've got some better SSS heroes. He kind of falls down a bit. But honestly, he is a hard carry for most areas of the game as you're trying to progress. Let me show you something cool about Tara Dome as well. So he is still in my kind of final teams for Tara. Oh, I run 14 at the moment. If I want to manual, it just does it quicker basically. But he would be in my Tara Dome team because you can use him to kind of jump his ult. I can turn his auto off. Everyone else I'm just throwing on auto. When he gets his ult, I can jump him into the circle. So he does no damage. Look at this. 0 damage whilst he's outside the circle. But he's one of the cool heroes that you can actually use his ult really impactfully. You can do this in a lot of content. If you're struggling to hit a back line campaign, you can actually throw Taylor into the back line to take them out. But see that? In the circle, look at his damage. All of a sudden, he's like that. Boom. you're absolutely going to take a dive, my friend, and he kicks out a ton of damage. So yeah, Taylor can be used in a ton of areas. I was also using him in the Spider, Sinsaro Marsh, until recently. I was throwing him into the front middle so that he always targeted the boss, whilst my AoE dudes were targeting the back lines. So yeah, Taylor, absolutely top tier until you start to get some of those SSS heroes coming through. Third one on my list then. This is someone that I slept on for a load of time. A very different type of hero, Bot Mark 2. I did not level one out for a long time, and it's probably made the biggest progression change on my account. So Bot Mark, what's he all about? It's one of the very few heroes. What skill does he do it on? It's one of the very few heroes that decreases the enemy's defense. This effect can stack up to 8 times, reducing the enemy's defense by 32%. The chance of decreased defense is increased to 70% as you level him up. So yeah, basically he's a decreased defense champion or hero. There's very few. Artas is one, he's one. I don't know if there's some SSS ones that do it as well, but basically it makes him a must for some of the higher level bosses, or if you're trying to just like crank damage up. He's actually a hunter style unit. So in places like the Twilight Lands, when you're trying to do triple hunters, Emma, Taylor, and Bot Mark 2 are the 3 that you want to be using, because he's lowering their defense, and then you've got 2 absolute cannons coming in, striking the enemy. Again, I've taken him up to EX20, mainly because I use him a ton now. I use him in such a lot of areas. He's just so strong. I've built him with decent amount of crit rate, but really I haven't built him for damage. If you look here, he's got HP boots, HP helm, and then I've done crit rate on the gloves. Really, I'm trying to make him stay alive because he's not my damage. The other 2 hunters or the people that he's teamed with are my damage. I actually build him to stay alive. So it's I call it a hybrid build really, because he's got a number of different jobs going on at the same time here. But I now use him Ancient Altar. He's in I think he's in my second team. I use him in Decent Caves, Sinsaro Marsh. Like he's pretty much coming into a ton of my teams, and I use him a lot in the Twilight Lands as well. Just really the end game content. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Next one up is Senway. Since Daniel came out, Senway has skyrocketed, I'd say, because he's now got someone else to kind of support him as a good summoner, and there's been more and more summoners coming through. But Senway, damn, he kicks out damage. He kicks out a ton of damage. He's one of the heroes, again, I've got him at EX20. He massively enhances when you get him to EX20 because he starts doing AoE damage. Yeah, and when that's going off, damn, he hits really hard. Also gives him good damage reduction as well. For Senway, you can see his build here. Basically, what I want is full out attack. Yeah, so I've actually got HP as in the Vigorous set for his helm and his boots. It's just because I don't have more attack 50% in boots and in helm. But ideally, I'd be attack here as well. So the reason we're going all out attack here, if we look at his ability to summon a shadow at a target location, if the target location is already occupied, the shadow will be summoned near the target location instead. But basically, Senway, his shadow only takes his attack. Yeah, so he takes a ranged unit with 130% of Senway's attack and 90% of his defense and HP. I guess it is worth getting some defensive stats, but mainly in his substats, I would say. It does not inherit other attributes of Senway. It will always have the same crit rate, 30%. It's irrelevant how much crit rate you put on Senway. Same with crit damage as well. And same with his AS. So always just kind of pump a load of attack into the build. Can be quite squishy if you don't give him any defense, but he kind of sits front, back line, and then the clone tends to go front line. So it also does a little bit of tankage. I mean, you'll see my Senway in action against Sinsaro Marsh when paired alongside a Daniel here, and you'll see an insane level of damage being kicked out. So I basically go all out. Just look at the damage charts with Senway kicking out a ton. I just go all out damage on the boss on this one. I used to have to manual a load of stuff to kind of deal with the back line, But since getting Semway up to Immortal and getting his EX20 going, he does so much AoE damage. Obviously, Daniel does as well. Daniel's insane. But considering this is an elite hero, he's doing an absolute ton of work against this boss. And this is one of my kind of fastest takedown level 15 bosses that I deal with. Semway is doing a ton of that damage, whilst his kind of frontline clones are tanking as well. So yeah, really, really strong elite hero. Okay, 2 more I'm going to call out for this video. The first one is actually one I've not managed to get to Immortal yet, but I'm not far off it, and that is Oak as a tank. So I invested a lot before I kind of realized how good Oak was in my Oisa, and I'd say not a mistake because I actually had a lot of copies to evolve her, but she's definitely not as strong as Oak as a frontline tank. So Oak here, Oak uses the power of Earth to strengthen himself, increases his damage reduction by 15%. So basically just kind of like soaks up a lot of damage. Oak may only attack enemies with thump, blah, blah, blah. You don't really want to worry about him doing more damage. It's more about him using his damage reduction abilities. So Oak receives protection, increases his max HP. He's also got an ability to stun. What else have we got going on here? That's just a damage ability. We don't really care about that. Every time heavy armor expires, Oak shall permanently gain 1% max HP. This effect stacks up to 4 times for a maximum of 4. So basically, what you're looking for with Oak is just like full damage reduction, high health, decent defense. That's my build here. We've gone damage reduction on the boots. I've kind of done a mixture of HP set with defense set. And I've done a mixture of defense and damage reduction in his build. Probably could do with a bit more HP, honestly, as well. But ultimately, he's someone that I will re-gear once I've got him to Immortal and get his like EX up to 20. But he is just a solid frontliner. I think probably the best of the tanks, although Boar here will give him a run for his money in a different kind of scenario. So those two are both very good tanks. The last one I want to talk about is probably someone that's not really talked about a lot in Eternal Evolution. But for me, Sorietta has been a CC carry. Yeah, what do I mean by that? Basically, she's just got this kind of crazy crowd control ability where it feels like all is lost. She does this almost like Syndra from League of Legends, spitting out a load of balls, and then she whacks through them to stun enemies. For campaign mode, this is one of the most clutch things that you can do to keep your team alive. Same type of thing really in Twilight Forest. When it looks like all is doomed, she stuns the whole enemy team, gives your healers a chance to get their healing done, and you kind of get yourself back into the game. Her build, very similar to what I aim to do on the Taylor build. So 60% crit rate, 60 crit damage, and then attack. Maybe a bit more crit damage in her build, but doesn't really matter too much. I have gone EX20 on her as well. Basically what she's doing here, as I said, she's firing out a load of spheres, not balls, spheres, which does a lot of damage, but also it's the crowd control element to her abilities, which is really strong. So Sorietta I used almost in every team as I was kind of leveling out through the game, apart from perhaps Tara Dome. But definitely you can use her with great effect in Sinsaro Marsh, and you can use her early on, at least in decent caves, for damage. She does do a lot of hits. So when you're trying to break through that shield, she's also good at doing that. Same type of thing in the Ancient Altar when you're trying to break through kind of number of hits. That boss there where you have to do a ton of hits as well. So Sorietta can be good there. But yeah, generally I find her very useful in story mode as a kind of like counter to enemy CC. So just coming in and basically pumping out those balls to try and crowd control as many of the enemy as possible. Sometimes I put her in kind of like the second area so that you can kind of control her abilities. And you also can do good work if you manual with her ult. So if you're sometimes on auto, she'll kind of like throw the balls in a certain direction and it doesn't really give us enough of a kind of zone of crowd control. Whereas if you're manualing, at least you can decide where you want them to go and you can kind of just smack through and stun as many of the enemy as possible. So yeah, Sorietta is going to be the last one for the list. Let me know down below Who are your favorite elite heroes in Eternal Evolution? And don't forget, if you want to download, use my link down below. You'll get yourself some Brucey bonus free stuff to get going. I've been Hell Hades. I'll see you later.